Hi everyone, my name is Sameer Dhanrajani. I'm the president at 3AI, and we are here again with a new episode of AI Makers Unpacked series. And we have a new speaker, a speaker who's well known, very seasoned, and very proven AI analytics leader. And I'm talking about none other than Shivani Rai Gupta. Let me briefly introduce Shivani Rai Gupta. And professionally, I know her from a couple of years. And good part about her in terms of her professional, I would say, credentials, she has worked with a melange of tech platform and I would say Indian companies in her current role, which is Reliance Jio. But previously, she has worked with tech behemoths like HP, Emphasis, Mindtree, also with the GCCG, which is HSBC, and fintech company called Pfizer. But over the years, she's been able to establish a very good pedigree in terms of how analytics AI adoption has seen a leapfrogging in terms of different industries. And in this particular episode, and knowing Shivani, she doesn't participate much in terms of her professional journey, I would say dissemination, but I coaxed and nurtured to kind of be out here. So, first of all, thanks, Shivani, for your time and I would say being part of this AI Unpacked series.
Thank you, Sameer. It's a pleasure to be part of this series, and thank you for a wonderful introduction. I think I should appoint you as my marketing lead who can market me so well. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
And
we'll talk about that alternate career after some time.
right, right,
so,
wonderful.
so, yeah, and I think starting Shivani, and yeah, we've seen that over the years, AI analytics has become a very big segment, kind of a separate industry segment altogether. And specifically, given it's not a very large community, specifically folks who have spent 15, 20 plus years in this industry pretty much know each other or separated by a first degree of separation. But what is not realizable with many of the analytics AI leader is how did they go through their professional journey over the years? Everyone seems to be seeing a good tag, a kind of a, let's say, very progressive mind share in terms of many of the leaders speaking in different forums. But there is a journey, there is a struggle, and there is also a lot of learning curve which has went through with each one of these leaders. And through this particular, I would say, session, we are trying to just unravel Shivani Rai Gupta as a professional. So tell us a bit about Shivani. How did you started your career? What kind of a journey curve you went through, and some bit of learnings about what you went or rather undertook in terms of your analytics AI understanding.
That's a great question, Sameer. So let me start. I think I did my bachelor's and master's and PhD in statistics. So I did not know statistics before I joined bachelor's. It's not that I was passionate about this thing, and I give that credit to chemistry. And I still give that credit to chemistry, that wherever I am today because of chemistry, because I used to dislike that subject so much that whatever was alternate to leave chemistry, I took it as a subject, but then started liking it a lot. That I think I had a mathematical mindset, and statistics has given me a way to incorporate that mathematics with a likes of business, likes of economy, where you can connect the dots and take things forward. So that was the starting point for me, my I would say professionalism, understanding what it is all about. I completed my PhD from Indore and Hiroshima University. After that, when I joined HSBC, I felt that I had a lot of theoretical knowledge, but I had very limited practical knowledge. So that was the place where I learned a lot on how to utilize statistics, which is converted to analytics into business deliverables. So I remember my manager, who was very very strict manager, and she taught me so many details about modeling, which I still remember and still utilize it. So I think getting that first mentor who is strict, sometimes we feel is very bad, but actually that puts the foundation for your career. So I still thank her being that strict and given me the right steps in terms of how do you survive in this industry, how do you take your knowledge to a next level where business can start utilizing it. So that was the starting point where I have come to analytics industry. I have gone through lot many companies, and as you rightly said, around I have worked in 8 or 9 different companies, and learned every company from. I would say every company has taught me new things. Either it is an industry, either it is depth, either it is how do I utilize my knowledge into business? How do I create a new framework or new technology? So I think I have taken that as a challenge, that I don't want to sit and relax any given point of time. The time I feel that I have few extra hours with my career, I will start looking out for an alternate job, because I feel that that is the time where I have started getting probably in a very, very comfort zone, and I'm not learning as much as I want to do it. So somewhere I think that ignited me to try different options, try different technologies. And when you move from one company to another company, I think everyone has to go through the griddle one more time. Everyone has to go through that much fire, that much passion, that much energy, and time, probably effort to make their mark in a new company, which gives you on your toe, but also gives you lots and lots of learning to whatever new company is offering. So that has
So
been my mantra.
no, so I think that's very fascinating because as I was listening through your professional journey, and you mentioned at the advent of your career, the significance of having a mentor, because what you learned in your academics uh, was supposed to be contextualized, and that mentor really helped you in contextualizing those aspects. One important thing I want to understand from you, and you've seen a change in terms of analytics AI adoption, usage, consumption happening very drastically. Give us some understanding about when you started your professional journey. What kind of projects around analytics AI you used to work upon, and what kind of associated technologies you used to kind of get your hands dirty compared to what the scenario is today? Because we've seen a huge curve. Because I'm trying to also relate, many of our uh, I would say viewers would be aspirants, professionals, and leaders, and they would like to understand this whole journey of analytics AI, how it's been from an engagement or project perspective.
Certainly. So I think when I started my career, that time we used to work in SaaS, and that was the only primary technology which was available. And I think the model deployment and project deployment used to happen mostly, I think, old-fashioned legacy systems, right? That was the case, and the type of problems when I used to work with HSBC, it is basically identifying your creditworthiness, or identifying the defaulters, or what type of models are going to give you the best customer from the acquisition perspective. So either it is acquisition or backend perspective, both the type of projects we used to work upon. I think things have not changed that much in banking from the core industry perspective, but I'll give you a newer banking problem which I have solved in my previous company, Capgemini, where I was leading the financial services for APAC. So banking problem still remains as it is, that you have to identify the right customer, right price point, and probably predict who is going to be defaulter. But in the value chain, if you go and ask for a loan to a bank, it's a 3 to 4 weeks process.
Right.
Now that I think technology has given us advantage, where we can, rather than looking for a 15-20 days window, can we identify a process where give a person loan within 2 minutes. So that has been the change in technology, and it is not just analytics which is driving this, but tons and tons of technology which is running underneath is driving this change. So that was the automation piece where AI is growing in, where how do you automate the current processes so well, where you can maximize the customer experience. And this banking example is probably the key, where newer technology can shape up the world, where from form filling to probably getting deposited your first EMI in the bank can happen within 2 minutes of journey, without any interaction with customer majority of the times.
So that's a good point what you touched, Shivani. And banking, being an earlier adopter of analytics AI, has seen also a very significant change in terms of adoption to a stage today. Credit scoring mechanism is already automated, embedded, and so that's one aspect. And the second is now banks are looking at personas of the individuals, even going to the extent of tracking their social media behavior and kind of understanding what kind of personas they have. More importantly, over there, from an industry viewpoint, And since you've worked on many, rather across global clients and multiple projects, how often have you seen the projects going wrong or the expectation
Mhm.
mismatch happening? And if that's happened, how have you encountered those scenarios or tackled those scenarios in a client specific situations? And you can be agnostic in terms of the industry, but more importantly, give us a flavor why projects fail actually in analytics. And there are significant amount of projects which fail. And what should be done to avert or kind of circumvent those situations?
I think not a big. I would say we have a nearly 20 or 30% of the projects which does not go the way we probably think when we start or probably conceptualize it, and a lot depend on the amount of data we are capturing it right now. Also in telecom, I'm trying to probably nail down a couple of problems, and data is not supporting me, or even I would say customer behavior is so I would say different in different technology, different verticals. Many a times, customer behavior is not clearly coming out, which talks about a particular use case. So, attrition is one big problem in telecom, which we are trying to solve. Which I have done it in other banking industry or insurance industry also. But I would feel that banking and insurance industry was easy to handle from a customer attrition perspective. Telecom is way tougher than anyone else, because the time probably Airtel offers or Vodafone offers something probably 5 rupees or 10 rupees difference SIM card or a plan, people have tendency to move that. Even without that, probably if you are not finding things working the way experience you have expected, people have tendency to move out of one telecom provider to another telecom provider. So idea is, yes, there are challenges which will come in your journey. How you will solve it, one, and how will you communicate with your leaders and your stakeholders is very important, right? When you work on these niche problems where you feel that it could be probably hit and trial kind of a situation, you need to involve your stakeholder as part of the journey, rather than probably sitting in one side and giving them responses to other side. If they're partner in your journey, it is easy to convince them, even if you are hitting to a failure, so that they will also understand the step by step approach, why things are not going the way it was supposed to go. So I'll give an example. I think in
So tell me one thing,
yeah,
Shivani, before you continue, and that's a very interesting point. That's why I'm chiming in. Assuming projects did not go through the way, and this I'm talking about your earlier career kind of a journey, it did not went through the entire curve how you wanted or how you expected. What's been the feedback from your managers? And you don't need to get into the company specific reaction. And did it affect your performance assessment or your team's performance assessment? How did you, yeah, again, I would say, did this holistic understanding of one, you rightly said, managing the stakeholders, which are the clients, internal or external. Second is this whole performance and expectation set. How did you went through kind of adapting to that as well?
so I think it's a journey which you have to go through. You do a lot of mistakes where you don't do the right probably communication to your stakeholder or your manager, and you learn from your own mistakes. I think when you are working on these critical projects, it is important that you are very well connected to your seniors as well as your customers, so that they will understand your journey. And I think in general, people try to see the efforts you are putting in rather than just believing in the results. So if you have put enough effort to make sure that you have not left any stone unturned, people do respect that, and it should not be part of any of your performances at all. Because if you're trying your best to solve a problem, and if there is no solution for that problem, you shouldn't be penalized, basically.
Have you felt disappointed with some of the performance assessments you have faced in the past?
Yeah, many a times. But it's a learning, right? You have to learn from
Absolutely.
either,
In fact, in my own world, I haven't seen a one perfect
right,
or very scientific performance assessment
right,
systems, because when there are individuals, there are matter of subjectivity and there
right,
is no one size fits all. So
right,
nicely said what you mentioned. So taking a very different curve altogether, Shivani, and this is more for aspirants,
right.
uh, folks who would like to come into the world of analytics, AI data science. So on one side, there is a viewpoint. And I want your view on this, your individual viewpoint. One side, the viewpoint is get a good set of academic credentials, do stuff in statistics, mathematics, or operational research. So that's one, and you seemingly will have a very good linear path in analytics. On the other side, forget about these academic qualifications. Ensure that you understand the basic of analytics AI and
Right.
get into this world and learn along the way. What's your kind of a take on this? What would you kind of advise the aspirants who are trying to get into this field?
So I'll give the story what it was probably 5 or 10 years back and what it is, right? When we started our career, it was that you have to have a statistical degree or analytical degree has to be there, then only you can work in this industry. But that was the case where we used to build probably 5 to 10 models, even when with HSBC kind of, I would say, institution, right? But now, when we talk about any company, they will be building probably 50 to 60 models, 50 to 60 AI use cases on a yearly basis. And if you are going in the scalability part, you need people for all type of skills, right? You need data scientists. Certainly, you will require some analytical skills, some statistical background, because if you don't have it, it is very difficult for you to go to the deep part of it. You need a lot of ML engineers, right, who will help you to deploy the models. You need big data expert. You need a system engineers who will create the backbone of your system platforms. So it's not necessary that you want to survive in this industry only on the basis of analytical capabilities, but everyone has scope here. UI UX is going big, because if they are not there, whatever front ending we have to do with the use cases or application, we will not be able to get the best customer experience from that. So I would say, because and AI is growing so fast at a scale, you will require all type of skill set which are available in the probably in this data related industry. But everyone should know how AI works. So it cannot, a system engineer who has worked probably a software engineering no, a job in the past, they can fit in the industry, but they have to learn what is the difference. A software engineering used to happen in past, but how they will utilize their knowledge in the AI benefit. So that's the gap they have to fill in, but everyone has scope here to come and probably survive in this new industry.
No, so I think that's a good dimension what you covered, and I just want to now take a leapfrog in terms of saying specifically for the ones which exist in analytics layer. Now, the fact is, as we see the size inside of the world with metaverse coming in the next few years, algorithmic platforms or marketplaces will get very prevalent. We are living in an age of low code, no code, which means at some
Right.
stage programming is table stake
Right.
game. Algorithms are already proven, established, embedded in the organizations. Cloud is an enabler kind of
Right.
a thing. So in that kind of a mode for existing population, and we are talking about in India per se, almost a million kind of a, let's say, population which is engaged or deployed in analytics, AI, data science. Now, for this existing population, how do you see the new skills, competencies, and attributes evolving? What is that they have to do to become more relevant for the future? Because, as you rightly said, career is not about just one shot, two
Right.
kind of assignments, it's a marathon. What's your advice for existing workforce in this?
I think if folks want to be part of any leading technological journey, they have to have a tendency to learn fast as much as possible. Because if you are a part of a very hyped or very high end technology, it is going to evolve as and when new things are coming up, right? So we have seen blockchain used to be used only with the cryptocurrency, but now it is moving to all other industries, right? Metaverse is going to be driven by blockchain and AI. So if you want to be part of this industry, you have to keep evolving with respect to technology. You may not become expert, but you have to learn and understand how do you align different technologies together. So AI, if you are, for example, SAS to R to Python to Spark, this is the four different technologies which we have evolved big time. Now cloud is coming, probably a kind of a backbone for everything, right? You cannot survive without cloud. You cannot survive without knowing clouds to your day-to-day job. You cannot survive without your probably Googles of the world or Azure of the world, or any of the GPUs kind of environment. So those things are very small players in the journey, and sooner you adopt, sooner you become expert in this. And nowadays, I think lots and lots of institutions are available who give you these trainings, and like 3AI and other institutes where you can uplift your skills in a quick turnaround time. You don't have to spend months or ages to adopt a new technology. So those are the, I think, benefits I would see, where people can have a better career path, even being part of a new age technology.
Great. I want to shift to a different aspect altogether. Now, for the audience, Shivani currently is a senior leader at Reliance Geo. She spearheads a lot of projects, which is for what we call AI for India, AI for Good. So that's her current role, and she interfaces with a lot of, I would say, Indian, I would say, enterprises to Indian, I would say, ecosystem players and all. Now, more importantly, Shivani, the question is more about uh, AI for India. We see a great opportunity, and I think I rather call it an opportunity of a lifetime, where AI could influence not only, I would say, the enterprises, but here we are talking about a completely different dimensions or the segments around agriculture, healthcare, public services, citizen services, utilities kind of a thing. What's your take on this? I mean, some of the quick views, if you can provide about how each of these uh, segments can actually get more influenced by AI, I think that would be great.
Right. A very good question, Sameer. And that's the place where I am in, luckily. And that was the reason I joined Geo, where I can probably connect with not only with the high-end MNCs, but also with a farmer or a person who is sitting in a village and does not have any facility about healthcare or any advice from agro experts. So that is the place where Reliance is putting a lot of effort to build a kind of a recommendation system, for example, for farmers. So I think we have been doing a recommendation system for customers for FMCG or banking, etc., for years, ages, right? But no one has thought about that 60% farmers population who have no head and tail about if in this particular season, if it is a drought or a kind of a heavy rains, how they have to maneuver things right away so that they can get the best benefit out of the season as well as the available resources they are having. So that's the, I think, theme which we are trying to do, where how can we evolve farmers just being probably they had knowledge but they don't have new age technologies. They have knowledge about how farming works, but they don't have understanding about the changing dynamics, the changing weather, or what is going to happen after 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, so that they can plan things really really well. So that's the place we are going towards, creating those kind of a recommendation, which could be a day-to-day recommendation to probably 3 months to 6 months to probably 1 year recommendations. What crops to select to get the highest yield, how can we increase their income to probably 3 to 5 foods. So that's the objective. Very critical project for us, very difficult project for us, because getting data from farmers is not easy. Information at that level which help us to identify or predict the yield is not easy. So data is a big challenge, but I think it's going really well at this point of time.
So alongside, and that's almost interlinked, Shivani, in terms of this question, there is also a war for supremacy along AI amongst nations. China, US, India, uh, I mean, the other countries specifically, I would say, are looking at building AI prowess, AI
Right.
capabilities, and they believe AI could be the Trojan horse in terms of becoming the game changer for their nations. Now, Do you see India, and this is more like your particular view, uh, taking this whole aspect of AI seriously with interventions, policy changes coming up, or do you still believe there is a lot to be done in terms of adoption, or I would say aspect of AI becoming almost the kind of, let's say, the front, I would say, facade for many of the organizations or Indian entities?
I think India in a very good space, and the kind of talent we have in India is amazing. So I would say we can become a leader, but it's a long journey, I would say. I think we are very better off as compared to West, but certainly China is a kind of a leader. Singapore is kind of a leader in this journey. If we talk about other continents, I think we are very well off, even in financial industries. If you compare the kind of processes we are having in India as compared to West, we are far away than the kind of automation, the kind of systems we are having in place. So I would say we haven't just touched the probably the tip of the iceberg. We have a long journey to go. We have to think about our own problems to solve rather than solving problems which are probably driven by the west. To be very frank, if we are able to spend more and more for our country challenges, I think we will evolve much better. To be very frank, just to add to my point, in my last 2 decades of journey in analytics, last 1.5 years is the only time when I'm working for India, and I'm really ashamed of that. That I did not work before Indian environment. So I think that is the thing which is going to change if people can start thinking that they should contribute for India as well.
Absolutely. I think AI for India should become a rallying cry because it's a great opportunity. And being in the community, we all believe AI can actually spearhead a lot of these challenges what we face on day-to-day basis. And some of this decision making at scale within India can actually happen through AI. And I think kudos to the kind of initiative what Reliance and Reliance Geo and other entities are taking from a perspective of making that AI enabled kind of interventions for the larger India initiatives. More importantly, as we shift gears, Shivani, and this is a question I've been posing to every particular leader in analytics AI is what we call the great attrition. I'm not calling it great
Right,
India attrition because it's a global phenomena
right.
currently. Churn is happening big time. Organizations are losing talent by the droves, and seems to be a bloodbath in terms of retaining existing workforce. Now, what's your take on this? I mean, one, what's happening? Why is it happening? And second, what should be done to kind of mitigate? You can't eliminate. It's always
Right,
been there in the
right.
industry, and that's obviously there is no reason it can be eliminated. But what can be done to mitigate or kind of circumvent some of these things by some good interventions?
I think after I think cycle of Corona, this has started increasing day by day. I think from October, November last year, we are seeing that it is going to a very high rate. I think there are many reasons why it is happening, and I would say that because there is lots and lots of hiring and firing happening in the West world, those jobs are also coming to India because of our low cost, I would say, offerings. The I think you cannot, as you rightly said, that you cannot stop it. You can try and मिटिगेट योर बेस्ट टैलेंट राइट. एक होता है कि आप अट्रैक्ट हाउ मेनी पीपल आर गोइंग टू अट्रैक्ट, बट डू यू वांट टू रिटेन एवरीवन? कैन यू रिटेन एवरीवन? No, right? So identify the right folks whom you want to retain. Probably I would say that it's not only money which can retain those guys. Money is important, but if you are able to give them right career path, right journey in the organization, that could make a probably a difference. And I think I'm working on that currently. I have worked in the past in my previous organization, that you have to have probably handful of people whom you want to retain. Others you cannot retain it, let them go.
Any regrets from your professional journey, Shivani? If you have to revisit and correct it in terms of a professional journey, what that would be?
I think I have learned a lot. I have done a lot of mistakes in my career, but the only plus point is that when you do a mistake, it gives you opportunity to grow. It gives you opportunity to learn and make yourself better. So whatever I am, I have. It's like I have learned from my own mistakes as well as others' mistake. But that has given me a lot of highs the way I see it today.
So
So
let me
I
nudge you.
may regret it for 3 months or two
As you
months.
said, and let me nudge you further. As you said, you've done a lot of mistakes. You have to pick up one professional mistake and correct that. What that would be.
I don't think I want to change the way things have been in the past. Uh, I think everyone goes through different phases of their own behavior, own, I would say, complexities of life, and you take a decision what is the right at that point of time. Later on, you can think that okay, you would have taken a better decision, but that time it sounded the best decision for you. And I think I have believed in that yes, it I can change a bit better, but I don't want to. I think I don't want to go in the past and do anything differently. I think I have regrets of leaving organizations like Mindtree. I had regrets about leaving organizations like HP, but that point of time I did not have a growth plan in those organizations. That's the reason I have left them. But when I look back to them, if I get a better opportunity now with those organizations, I would love to go back there and work there, because the culture what they had was really good. And I think as I'm growing old, as I'm maturing, I have realized that the importance of culture what they have in the system, that helps you to become better and better every day.
So if I pick up one sentence your team would say, let's say, if you allow me to meet your team, maybe not existing, maybe the previous teams, what you've handled, uh, what is that you believe your team would say about you as a leader?
I think I don't. The one thing which I have learned is that you have to give a lot of authority to people whom you are working with, right? So responsibility we all give, right? But that responsibility without authority doesn't give a good result. So when you are giving a kind of a ownership to your team members, give them some responsibility, give them little authority. It's like you are giving your baby to them. Now they have to grow them. If you don't, if you keep on giving them instructions, it is not going to help them. So one, I want to probably give them a lot of independence to work around with it. Second, I want them to grow. I think if you have a right strategy in place, and you have to make sure that they are agreed to that strategy, it helps them. So I would say yes, I'm not a very straightforward, I would say, a very soft leader. I'm very aggressive leader. I'm a very tough taskmaster. But I also give a lot of independence to people, and I will make sure that they grow along with me.
Nice, nice. Now, one of the things which often distinguish one analytics AI leader from other is our own leadership style. Everyone carries, and you mentioned some of the attributes what you carry about your leadership style. 5 years down the line, do you think the leadership style will change for you? The way you kind of portray yourself, the way you manage your team, the way you manage your projects? Or do you think what you carry today will remain?
I want to change, because if you're not changing, you are becoming static. So I certainly, everyone has to, I think, grow. If you are not growing where you are from next 5 years, I'm sure you are not learning new things. So certainly I want to change. I want to become much better person than I am. Leader, yes, you have to make sure that whatever you are leading is small, big or mega, you have to do justice to that. So yes, I am growing every day. So I want to make myself better leader than what I am today. I have certain style, but I am sure that that can be fine tuned further.
Let me put some one liner questions, more importantly, just to kind of ascertain your, I would say, aspect about what you want to respond. So, assume, and this is again all hypothetical scenario, you have a team member brilliant in terms of the output deliverables, but very, very low on the culture. How would you treat that situation with this particular individual?
I think behavior and culture drives or attitude drives the majority of the things. You can teach people technology but not attitude. I'm a firm believer of that. I don't hire people just on the basis of their merit on what they have done or where they have done. But when I have probably a candid conversation with them for half an hour to probably 1.5 hour, I try to gauge their attitude to be very frank, and that is what kind of a decision making for me, even if they have a low on technical aspect of it, but I'm ready to take that if they have a very positive attitude, very right attitude, what I'm looking for. But
So
if they are
another situation, which is
right.
what you well answered the first one. Now you've done sessions with one individual, and again I'm saying this is generically, not specific to any particular. You may have faced, of course, you would have faced in your previous organizations. Assume that you have managed to tell one of the individual contributor in your team who reports into you the performance data points, but he or she still does not get convinced
Mhm.
and is really kind of not able to handle that situation of the feedback what you've given even after do multiple situations. What exactly you would like to do next? He or she keeps coming back to you again and again saying he or she is not convinced. What would be your particular point of view after few interactions?
One, I think you have to drive it with data, with facts, with
You've done it.
scenarios,
You've
right?
done it. You've had, let's say, two, three meetings.
I think it's more of you have to connect them. You have to understand why they are not accepting it. What is their side of a story? If it is totally different, one is the perspective, right? Are you even trying to understand there is a problem? Right, if they are not, they don't even want to understand that there is a problem, then it's a different thought. But if they are intelligent enough to understand that there are certain problems which someone has to fix or there have been issues, then you can have a conversation, start with that. But if the other party is very very rigid, I don't think that any number of meetings are going to go anywhere.
Absolutely.
I've seen a lot of people. I've faced lot of those such people in the past, where the other party is not even ready to accept there is a challenge. Then you can't do much. But if people have that acceptance to start with, you can work around with that. The situation is still workable, I would say.
Sure. So 10 years from now, where do you think, Shivani, this whole AI analytics as an industry, as a segment would be?
I think metaverse is going to take a big role, not only with entertainment industry, but also wherever human interactions are required. So that is one way where all the people are thinking, and Corona has given them a kind of a backstage where people were not able to meet, and they have faced a lot of challenges, or they have missed a lot of things which would have happen in person kind of scenarios. So that way I would say it is the future. A lot of technologies are going to drive metaverse. AI is going to be the leader in that. Blockchain is going to be a pertaining a technology which is going to drive a metaverse, but entire landscape of your big data to your cloud to your GPU all will fit in the same, I would say, platform to think about it. But use cases need to be intelligent enough. The use cases what we are seeing, that is just a start of the use case, like what we saw in Alexa, that 3 or 4 years back Alexa was used to use only to probably play music or probably search something from Google. So that is not the right use case of Alexa. Now we are using Alexa for even home automation to banking automation to intelligence systems, etc. Right? So it has evolved. So metaverse, what use cases what we are seeing, it is very early stage event of Justin Bieber happening in metaverse space, or people meeting and greeting in metaverse space. That is just the start. We will see probably much more complex situations where metaverse can play a major role. So I think that is the a thing which all of us are looking forward for.
How would you describe Shivani Rai Gupta as a professional? I've asked the
I'm
question where how do you believe, and how do you ascertain people would talk about you, but now it's actually you talking about you.
one, I like challenges. I like technological challenges. Uh, I have evolved a lot in last 2 decades, where I give importance to business results rather than what technology, what models, what AI is going in the background. So I am a business-driven technological person who love to face newer and newer challenges at every step of my career.
Awesome. I always keep on saying, Shivani, and this is my own understanding, that leaders usually are, I would say, in plenty, but what makes leader distinct is their vulnerability. I mean, during the last, I would say, 45 odd minutes, what you opened up was very straight, very candid, very unfiltered kind of a view about not how you encountered the situations, but how actually these situations are challenging. It will never remain constant. And how you encountered those with, I would say, great aplomb in terms of saying, look, when I asked you to kind of really say that any regrets you want to kind of correct, you said, no, this is something which has happened. And at the end of the day, those mistakes happen because leaders are absolutely uh, not just kind of a, let's say, foolproof. They also make
Right.
mistakes. More importantly, I think the aspects what you touched upon, the cultural aspects, uh, this whole thing around how the analytics AI professionals, aspirants, and the existing workforce should kind of address this whole aspect of being much more, I would say, forward looking in terms of their viewpoints and careers in terms of analytics AI. And also the various aspects what you touched upon in terms of AI analytics as an industry, what India should do, and what nations should be striving in terms of becoming leaders was absolutely, I would say, revealing for me. I had so many conversations with you separately, but this is something what I always say coming straight from the heart. And that's exactly what we appreciate. Thank you so much for your time and really appreciate your viewpoints. And thank you so much, Shivan.
Thank you, Samir. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I think it's always pleasure to talk about our mistakes, our journey, because that probably inspires someone else also. All of us are all of us are human who have gone through a lot of mistakes. But importance is that have you learned from that, right? You keep. It's not that you should keep on doing the same mistakes and still failing. So I've learned, I have done a lot of mistakes. I've learned, I've corrected myself where I feel I should have corrected. I've learned that. So it's a journey. I'm still not that foolproof. I am going to do a lot of mistakes in my life, but I'm going to probably again stand up and fight back and move forward. So that's the way I am. And it was very nice talking to you. I think you have touched a lot of different aspect about it. Just last analogy which I want to give for all the aspirants who want to get into the data science. So I always talk about two different things. One, data science, what used to happen 5 years back, that okay, you need to know one AI technology like Python, R, or any other thing. Second, you need to know probably one vertical. For example, you are good in financial services or insurance or any other things. That was good enough, and some business knowledge, right? If you're in banking industry, you should know a little business. That was good enough for you to survive. Now you need to know banking. What banking? Are you in consumer finance? Are you in credit card industry? Are you in insurance? Are you in a particular side of insurance? You need to know that. You need to know what type of analytical capabilities you have. Are you in expert in ML? Are you an expert in deep learning? Are you expert in model building or model development? You need to have a ML ops understanding, how you deploy models, how do you put that in cloud. So all those things are very important. पहले हम कहते थे कि वो data science है. Now it's kind of a, is it a rocket science what people are looking for? But that is what it is required, that you have to have knowledge of at least 8 to 10 technologies to survive and thrive in this industry.
Great. Thank you so much, Shivani, for your viewpoints. Really appreciate. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings to the closure of our episode with Shivani Rai Gupta. Keep watching AI Makers Unpacked series. Thank you so much. Thanks, Shivani.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sameer.